Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. We have an absolutely cracking match to preview. Novak Djokovic versus Stefanos Tsitsipas. We're going to break it down. Before we do, though, remember to that like button and do subscribe if you are new. Thank you to everyone that is still hitting that like button and sharing the vids as well. Also, do leave a rating and review if you're listening or watching on a podcast platform. We do appreciate it. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to look at their previous meetings. Then we're going to look at their most recent form. And then ultimately, I will give you guys my prediction. And along the way to that prediction, I'll be breaking down more strategically how I think things might play out and also some of the matchups to look out for as well. Some of the dynamics that we should bear in mind when watching this match later on today, this eve, which I think is going to be an incredible match. I'm hoping it will be like the one in Paris that they had, and arguably could be the match of the tournament if we're lucky as well. So let's talk about them, their previous meetings. So you can see here, Djokovic has a favorable head-to-head. He has been coming out on top in the majority of the matches between the two. And one that will really hurt is that one at Roland Garros last year, where he won in 5 sets. Tsitsipas was 2 sets to love up, and then ended up going on to lose in 5. Djokovic coming back in classic Djokovic fashion, honestly. That's just how good he's been recently. If we then look at the most previous meetings, and the head-to-head is 9-2, so doesn't make good reading for Tsitsipas. And you might be saying, well, Fazan, why are you so excited about this match? Because 9-2 gives the opinion that actually Djokovic should come out on top relatively comfortably in this match. And who knows, maybe he could. But what has been great to see was the most recent match between the two in Paris, where it was decided in a final set tiebreaker, and Tsitsipas played some really, really good tennis. And what Tsitsipas, to be fair to him, has been doing this year is improving incrementally, I think, on different surfaces. I do think he made improvements on the grass, and I think he's also made improvements on hard courts and similarly on the indoor hards as well. The fact that he made the semi-finals of Paris, and you might turn around and say to me, well, Fazan, look, yes, his US Open results haven't been good, but he's made the semi-finals of the Australian Open for the last 2 years. Well, that's a quick surface, right? Which it is. It zips through. But I think on indoor hard court, it stays slightly lower than the outdoor hard courts, and of course zips through even more. And with someone like Tsitsipas, who in the past we've seen his backhand be a liability, and he's maybe had a lot of emphasis on hitting and controlling with the forehand with high topspin, you might have thought, well, this maybe isn't the surface to really bring the best out of his game. But he has definitely molded himself into an all-court player, I think, in my opinion anyways. But Novak Djokovic, there's not really much to talk about apart from the fact that he is one of the GOATs. One of the GOATs. He won Paris 6 times. He's won the ATP Tour Finals multiple times. He hasn't won it, though, for a few years now. I think the last time he won it was 2015, I want to say. So it's been a number of years. And we've had, not random winners, but we've had people like Tsitsipas, Medvedev, Zverev win it. Which, there's nothing bad about that. But, a lot of them weren't Grand Slam champions when they won it. So it was almost a little bit strange to see them win it. But for Djokovic, he'll be looking to capture the title, I'm sure, this year. Anyways, back onto the previous meetings then. So the one in Paris is what I want to focus on the most, because the others, Nur Sultan, you could say, is relevant as well as indoors, but it's a very, very slow indoor hard court. And Djokovic won in straight sets, which, I'm not surprised by at all. The faster indoor hard courts in Paris. Now, this is what I want to concentrate on, because the previous meetings you can see, this year there was one in Rome. It's irrelevant, really, in the sense that Yes, Djokovic won. He obviously improved his head-to-head, but when we're talking about conditions and surfaces and how this plays out, it doesn't really have a bearing on this match, in my opinion. So for Tsitsipas, how did he manage to play so well against Djokovic in that Paris match? In that Paris match, even because in the end, it was only decided by a tiebreaker, and Djokovic played that tiebreaker better, went on to win the match. Tsitsipas for me has a top 3 serve and forehand combination. I think it's that good. I genuinely feel like it is a fantastic weapon and play that he utilizes very consistently, and it's something that he relies on, to be honest with you. And I personally think that he is now in a position to not just utilize it effectively on the clay, but use it effectively on all surfaces. And his movement around the backhand to hit the into out forehand is sublime. And what he did really well against Djokovic is utilize the into out forehand. He utilized the into out forehand really, really well against Djokovic, and Djokovic was having to stretch a lot of the times on the backhand in uncomfortable positions. And we know he's arguably the best defender on the backhand side, but Tsitsipas's forehand is elite. It is. And he flattened it out, went hard into out. And it's a similar tactic, I guess, as you'd utilize against Rafa, right? But on the forehand side, you'd be going to. And Djokovic was stretched all over the place on that side. And he wasn't able to maybe get the depth he would like on the defensive backhands as he normally would do, because he just didn't have the time. Even if someone is incredibly athletic and elastic, as we know Djokovic is, Tsitsipas was just hitting the ball so cleanly from that position and so flat and with a lot of pace that even Djokovic was struggling to defend as well as he would have liked. And Tsitsipas then, of course, would come forward and be able to finish off the point, or we'd see Djokovic not even make that backhand. So he has utilized and was utilizing that into out forehand beautifully, I thought, for the most part. He also utilized the slice quite nicely to a change of pace. And I know I've been quite critical of his slice in the past, and I still think it's definitely a work in progress, but he's done very well to at least incrementally improve it in the last few months. And, before it was quite a floaty slice, not much on it. He's now trying to slice kind of very tight to the top of the net with a lot more pace. And I think that helped change the rhythm. Djokovic is a type of player as well that if you play one pace against him, he's going to just tear you apart. He will tear you apart limb from limb easily. It will be carnage, because he then knows what to expect. There's no break in rhythm. He can just flow throughout the whole match and dictate from the back of the court and do really what he wants. And I think Tsitsipas was a very impressive one with the into-out forehand, and also the drop shots in that matchup as well. He has utilized that really nicely against Djokovic. And again, people like Djokovic and Nadal, you don't normally think that the drop shot is a good option, but when you're pushing them back when they're defending, it's a very good option to try and bring them forward. And then, Tsitsipas was able to maybe pass him out of the net, or you wouldn't even need to play another shot because the drop shot was actually so good. In the forehand-to-forehand exchanges as well, I think we know that Tsitsipas probably backs himself because, as I said, he's got an elite forehand. And even though Djokovic's forehand now, we know, is also an incredible weapon, he can dictate as well from the back of the court. Tsitsipas finds great angles, especially cross-court on that forehand side. And, he does get success against Djokovic in those exchanges. Before we get into I guess how I think this specific match is going to play out, let's talk about their most recent form. So Djokovic, as I said, making the Paris final against Holger Rune, losing in 3 sets. And you can see that match against Tsitsipas was prior to that. He won Nur Sultan, beating Tsitsipas in the final. So they played recently. And so, he's coming into this in some good form on the indoor hards. For Tsitsipas, a bit different. In Stockholm, he lost in the final to Holger Rune, who's been in great form, so fine. Both players losing to Holger Rune. In Vienna, he lost to Coric, which was a surprising victory, I guess. But at the same time, is it really that surprising? Djokovic is a danger man at the moment, and then Paris, of course, lost to Djokovic. So, how does this match play out? Then let's give you guys my prediction. So, I think it's going to play out similar to Paris, and I genuinely think it's going to be whoever takes their chances and whoever is the most clinical. Because I think if Tsitsipas is able to find that form that he did in Paris, I think he's going to be very tough to handle. And we know Djokovic, how good he is on indoor hard courts, how good he is on all surfaces, but especially hard courts. He will just be super, super solid. We've seen as well how quick this surface is. So both players should have success if they make a lot of first serves. Tsitsipas will be looking to hit his spots. We saw Taylor Fritz do it yesterday against Rafael Nadal. If Tsitsipas can hit his spots on his first serve, even someone like Djokovic, who's arguably the best returner ever, won't be able to return as many serves as he normally would because this surface is zipping through. So Tsitsipas should be looking to make a lot of first serves. He should be taking a few risks as well when he needs to on the forehand side, especially. He needs to be proactive and try and shorten the points, come to the net when he can, because the surface will reward people who play proactive tennis, and it will mean that they can shorten the points off if they're being calculated in the way they do it. So for Tsitsipas, I think he needs to be smart in how he plays. I don't think he should be getting dragged into rallies with Djokovic. I know he has some success in some of those rallies in Paris, but in all honesty, Djokovic will manage the points better, I think, as they get longer. And the fact that he's beaten Tsitsipas in Paris, even though it was a very tight match, he'll take the confidence of that going into this, and he'll think, well, I can do it again. And in fact, given that I've played Tsitsipas recently on a very similar surface, he's probably thinking, well, I can also adapt. I should be able to come up with a better game plan this time and get it done even easier. For Tsitsipas, he needs to be very, very good, not make many mistakes. He needs to be good with the backhand slice as well, utilize that effectively when he needs to, change up the pace, and he needs to try and avoid making a lot of mistakes on the backhand side, limit the shanks, which is hard with his game, but he just needs to be dialed in. I think with Tsitsipas, a lot of it is the mental side, genuinely. And if he keeps his head in the game, if he stays dialed in, I think it's going to be extremely tough for Djokovic to run away with it. But for Djokovic, of course, we know how good he serves nowadays as well, so efficient. He'll get a lot of success. Tsitsipas isn't the best returner, but if he can utilize the block return well on the backhand side, make as many returns as possible, and on the forehand side, if he's able to at least try and get to neutral, then it'll be interesting to see where we go from there, because Djokovic will try and be proactive on the 1+ shot as well, as we've seen recently. And the biggest question mark for me is, how does Tsitsipas defend on the backhand? Does he defend well on the backhand? And similarly for Djokovic, because I think the into forehand, as I mentioned, from Tsitsipas in their Paris meeting was super effective. And I'm very much hoping that Tsitsipas will be able to have a similar success in this one, because if he doesn't, it's not going to be too competitive, honestly. Also, utilizing the drop shot is a good tactic, especially if Tsitsipas is engaging in forehand-to-forehand exchanges and dragging Djokovic out wide. I think he should utilize that. And I think he should also come forward and try and serve volley at times, because I think, especially on the quicker surface, Djokovic might stand a bit further back in the return position. So utilize that. Not utilize it, well, take advantage of it even. Come forward and volley at times as well, and make sure that you use it to your advantage. For Djokovic, I don't think he's going to be coming forward a huge amount, but he will do so at times. I just think he probably will be thinking it's such a quick surface, and he's able to hit the ball so deep into court. The courts are going to assist him in terms of power. He just needs to be super solid against Tsitsipas and wait for the error, or dictate from the back of the court with the forehand. And then we know how good his backhand on the line is as well. I mean, it's very, very hard to find big kinks in Djokovic's game. And it's almost a case of Tsitsipas will have to, in a basic way, I guess, try and hit Djokovic off the court, because this surface is quick enough for someone to do that. But that does mean taking a few more risks, and I think Tsitsipas will have to do that if he wants to come out on top in this exchange between the two. My prediction is Djokovic in 3 sets. I think it's going to be similar to the Paris match. I think Tsitsipas will have some success, but I would be surprised if he comes out on top, given that they've played recently. And I think Djokovic is, as I said, is a GOAT, so he will adapt his game, I think, to Tsitsipas, and he'll come up with an interesting game plan, as we've seen him do against all the top players in the last few years, or well, last couple of decades, even almost now. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Remember to that like button and do subscribe if you are new. Really appreciate it, and we will see you very, very soon.